Everyone makes mistakes, we are all human. However, you've probably never made a mistake as bad as this. These huge oversights and mistakes have cost these people billions. Here is a list of the absolute most expensive mistakes made in history. Number 10. Spanish submarine mistake, $2.2 billion. The Isaac Peral submarine was built by the Spanish government in 2013. Engineers created a submarine that could get to the bottom of the ocean, just fine. However, a miscalculation was made. The submarine was unable to resurface again. The submarine engineers tried to rectify this issue by making it bigger. However, it now couldn't fit in the seaport where it was supposed to live, causing more expensive changes. All in all, it cost the Spanish government $2.2 billion. Number 9. Sinking of Prestige, value, $6.9 billion. Despite its illustrious name, through 2002 the Prestige became a rundown oil tanker with 26 years of delivery work beneath its widespread belt. Even as it was carrying 77,000 metric lots of oil, the Prestige got stuck in a storm off the coast of Spain. The delivery took on water, causing engines to shut down. As the ship leaked oil into the sea, the group evacuated. After numerous days of discussion and put off, the delivery was finally introduced into harbor in Spain. The ecological damage, cleanups, and legal charge, $6.9 billion. If the ship had been better maintained, it probably might have withstood the typhoon and the oil spill by no means might have occurred. Number 8. Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, cost, $12 billion. Fukushima Daiichi became a nuclear power plant on the coast of Japan that sadly received international notoriety in March of 2011. An earthquake induced the reactors on the plant to shut down, but it additionally brought about a tsunami. The tsunami shut down the plant's backup generator, stopping the necessary cooling technique from taking place. Following this unlucky chain of events, 3 nuclear reactors melted down and hydrogen explosions released risky radiation into the air. A 2012 research determined that every one of these events have been totally preventable. Sadly, guidelines for the plant's necessary renovation have been unnoticed and catastrophe struck at Fukushima. Number 7. Columbia disintegrated on re-access, price, $13 billion. The gap going back and forth to the Columbia crash of 2003 will unluckily cross down in history as some other spacecraft twist of fate that ought to by no means have happened. The go back and forth became torn apart upon re-getting into the Earth's atmosphere due to a chunk of froth that fell from the trip's outside tank, breaching its wing. All 7 astronauts on board Columbia have been killed. When Columbia took off 16 days prior, a similar difficulty with falling foam had taken hold, however not anything was done to correct the hassle. This tragic incident brought about the entire NASA space trip fleet being retired in 2011, and NASA bore exquisite public scrutiny for not taking precautions to relax the foam at the shuttle's tank. Number 6. The Dubai aquarium leak, $20 billion. Who would have thought that one little, leaky panel joint could cause all this havoc? Certainly not the engineers and construction workers that created the biggest aquarium in Dubai known as the Indoor Ocean. Luckily, the leak was recognized in time, and all of the animals inside the aquarium survived. However, in order to fix the leak without disturbing the hundreds of huge sharks, and highly exotic creatures inside, nearly $20 billion was spent. Number 5. Mercedes-Benz buys Chrysler, value, $20 billion. Mercedes-Benz parent corporation Daimler-Benz merged with Chrysler in 1998, intent on transforming the 2 agencies into one international vehicle powerhouse called Daimler-Chrysler. With one branch in the US and the other in Europe, the employer hoped to dominate the auto market on each continent. Daimler-Benz paid $37 billion for Chrysler, however, alas, the deal didn't stand the test of time. Due to subculture clashes and variations in exceptional, the 2 companies struggled to peer eye to eye. Then, within the 2000s, a recession drove Chrysler sales into the gutter. Daimler-Benz in the long run offered Chrysler in 2007 for $7 billion to Cerberus Capital Control Company, an organization whose area of expertise is restructuring failing organizations. Number 4. Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Value $61 billion. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill inside the Gulf of Mexico is taken into consideration as the worst oil spill in history. 210 million gallons of oil had been spilled following an explosion at the drilling rig. Oil threatened marine and natural world habitats from Louisiana to Florida, and the spill persisted for months as workers tried time and again to forestall the float of oil. In the end, an investigation discovered that BP, the British agency liable for the Deepwater Horizon rigger, had cut corners on protection with disastrous results. Slicing corners grew to become very expensive for BP. Cleansing up after the disaster and paying related fines and prison prices has stuck the corporation with a $61 billion bill. Number 3. Deepwater Horizon. Oil rig explosion, $65 billion in 2010. The world was shocked by images of the explosion of the BP Deepwater Horizon. Oil slicked the ocean for hundreds of kilometers around. It was an environmental and economic disaster, like we'd never seen before. The company involved, Transocean, had to pay $1.4 billion due to the U.S. Clean Water Act. BP also had to pay an estimate of upwards $65 billion in penalties, compensation and losses. Number 2. AOL buys Time Warner. Value $146 billion. In the year 2000, the dot-com bubble became at its top. AOL changed into seemed because the maximum up-to-date tech employer in the world, and the Time Warner deal became hyped to the max. AOL paid $182 billion to buy Time Warner, together with Time Warner cable programs to their then well-known domestic net services. Just a few months later, the dot-com bubble burst, inflicting AOL's fee to say no swiftly. In 2009, Time Warner struck out on their own with a valuation of $36 billion. Newly unmarried, AOL's cost had dropped to simply $2.5 billion. In 2000, AOL conceived their reign because the main home internet service should by no means surrender, but only some brief years proved them very, very wrong. Number 1. Chernobyl catastrophe, cost, $590 billion. The Chernobyl disaster is the worst, maximum lethal nuclear twist of fate of all time. The worst part is, it passed off because of some completely preventable errors. On April 25, 1986, a drill simulating an electricity outage at Chernobyl brought about out-of-control reactions and a steam fire that burned for 9 days. 134 workers had been hospitalized due to radiation publicity, and 31 of them died in the following few weeks. 14 of them might later die from most cancers, likely because of the radiation. The Chernobyl energy plant ran on a Soviet-designed reactor that wasn't as code for usage everywhere else within the global. Layout flaws in that reactor brought on the horrible incident, and irreparable damage happened. So this is for today's video. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe our channel for more interesting videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.